The New Year's fireworks exploded into a clamorous display outside the window. I curled up on a living room sofa, my fingertips scrolling over the phone screen, the page of the dutiful wife rankings glaring back at my name. Layla Lovelace was once again securely perched at the top of the list. The comments below scrolled by rapidly, mostly filled with men's envy and sighs. They all envy Otto Good, my husband, envying him for good me to sign that absurd contract on the very night we marry, a contract lasting 7 years, allowing him free rein to be unfaithful while I am forbidden from interfering or complaint. The glow of the screen cast across my face, leaving no ripple, only silence. They all see me as a timid, obedient woman, letting my husband chase after other women while silently swallowing my bitterness. Only I know the truth. I'm not. I am a priestess, burdened with my family's curse and its promises. Signing that contract was not a compromise, nor an act of cowardice. It was the beginning of keeping my vow, and Otto Good's price for honoring the contract is that when 7-year pact ends, it will turn into a paying ever without hope of reversal. 7 years with just 1 month left. I sat on the sofa, listening to fireworks outside, my fingers lightly tracing the bracelet on my wrist. The sudden sound of the door lock turning shattered the quiet in the living room. I didn't get up, didn't even look up, and kept my eyes fixed on the voting rankings on my phone. I knew Otto Good had come back, but this time he wasn't alone. Cook at high heels accompanied his footsteps as they both entered the living room. Layla, let me introduce you. This is Farina. Lotto's voice carried a faint, airily concealed pride, laced with a certain entitlement. Only then did I slowly raise my faint look at the woman stained Saint Barina. She's strikingly beautiful, her brows and eyes carrying a trace of impudent arrogance. Dressed in a red dress that perfectly matched the festive New Year's Eve spirit, her hand rested intimately on Otto Good's arm, her eyes holding a trace of provocation as they locked onto me. I tugged the corner of my mouth, said nothing, and gave only a faint nod. Otto seemed used to my silence and obedience. He frowned slightly and ordered, Rena isn't feeling well, go to the kitchen and make her some porridge. No discussion, no courtesy, just bare-faced commands. Me 7 years, scenes like this I'm long since become commonplace. The bearer the room home made me kirk and clean, never's forced me to serve tea and water to just me have never refused, not out of cowardice. So because of that 7-year pact, because of the inevitable retribution, I stood up and replied calmly, all right. I turned and walked into the kitchen, tied on my apron, took out the rice and slowly rinsed it. The rushing water drowned out the intimate conversation between the two in the living room. I focused on cooking the porridge, my mind free of all distractions. I thinking just 1 more month to wait and it will all be over. The porridge simmered slowly, sans lutus, and fragrant, ideal for someone who was on a leader the ball blatant in a trade and cared toward a restaurant, soft loving who isn't closed tightly, leaving a narrow gap. Inside came Farina Darwin's delicate voice, accompanied by Otto Good's gentle reply, Sonal, I'm a little scared. It's already been 3 months, and I don't know what to do. Farina's voice carried a trace of grievance. 3 months? And my hand holding the porridge froze abruptly, my fingertips turning slightly cold. 3 months? That meant 3 months pregnant. A long-buried memory suddenly flashed through my mind. That was 5 years ago. I was also pregnant. That was 3 months pregnant. Accidentally cold Otto Good. He 5 years of the clock, then patiently told me to go to the hospital alone. By the time I struggled to get to the hospital, the baby could no longer be saved. In the operating room, I cried out with heart-wrenching pain with no one at my side. Outside the operating room, there was no sign of Otto Good. Later, I found out that day he hadn't been with a client at all, but was shopping with Farina Darwin. He said Farina was in a bad mood and needed his company. But my child, my pain, with worthless in his eyes, a sharp pain pierced my chest. A something gripped me fiercely, suffocating, need despair and agony of losing my child just hopped over me for some. I took a deep breath, voicing down the turmoil inside, then pushed open the door and stepped in. Farina Darwin saw me and instinctively shrank closer into Otto Good's arms, her gaze even more defying. Otto Good frowned and looked at me. Is the porridge ready? Bring it here. I nodded, then walked over slowly and placed the porridge on the bedside table. Farina picked up the spoon, scooped a mouthful of porridge, and as soon as she put it in her mouth, frowned and suddenly spat it out. So bitter. Otto, why is this porridge so bitter? Farina began to crow, feeling wrong. Does she do it on purpose? Is she jealous because I'm carrying her child, and purposely could something strange to courage? Otto Good's face darkened instant. He glared at me fiercely, his tone laced with anger. Layla, what exactly have you done? I looked at him calmly, neither defending myself nor offering an explanation. There was nothing strange in the porridge. I was just distracted earlier and accidentally added a bit too much salt. Just a little salt, not enough to make it unbearably bitter. Farina Darwin was simply being deliberately difficult. Otto could never once believe me. Throughout these 7 years, no matter what happened, he always sided with others, always misunderstood me. Throughout, I didn't care, because I knew that once the 7-year pact ended, he would get what he deserved. Watching Farina and Nestle in his arms, seeing him glare at me in anger for her, and thinking of the child I lost, suddenly I felt there was no need to wait any longer, no need to endure anymore. I lifted my head to meet Otto Good's sharp gaze, my tone calm but resolute. Otto, let's get a divorce. Otto was stunned, if he hadn't expected me to say those words. Farina Darwin was also taken aback, stopping a tears, surprise and confusion flickering in her eyes. The entire room instantly fell into silence. After a long moment, Otto filing her cover, hurrying his brows, this tone tangibly impatience and disbelief. Layla, if you made enough of a scene, you want a divorce just over a bowl of porridge. I'm not making a scene. I shook my head, my voice still steady. I'm serious. We're getting a divorce. That's impossible. Otto Good refused without hesitation. The contract isn't up. You can't get a divorce. The contract only says that within 7 years, you're free to have affairs, and I'm not allowed to interfere. I looked at him and spoke each word deliberately. He doesn't say I can't ask for a divorce. Otto's face darkened further. He opened his mouth as if a spear. No word came out. I didn't look back. I turned and left the guest room, locking all the pain and anger behind a door. Otto Good and Farina Darwin did not come out again. The guest room remained silent. I sat on the sofa, sleepless throughout the night. Outside the window, the fireworks had long since faded away. On the horizon, dawn was slowly break. Otto Good returned in the dead of night. I stayed on the sofa, neither asleep nor having switched on the light. He entered the living room and turned on the light. A harsh glow illuminated the entire room. He neither sneen and pars briefla a forecoming ermine and sit beside his hand was a delicate dreamy bots. Layla and Sarge's room held a rare tenderness and regret. Last night I was wrong. I shouldn't have misunderstood you or lost my temper. I said nothing, simply gazing quietly ahead, avoiding his eyes. He opened the jewelry box to reveal a silver bracelet studded with tiny diamonds glittering under the light. This is an apology gift I bought for you. He lifted the bracelet, trying to clasp it around my wrist. Will you forgive me? I slightly turned aside, avoiding his hand. His hand froze in midair. A gentleness at his face slowly faded. A clasped a trace that embarrassment and helplessness had thrown on pause. He family spoke slowly, his tone tinged with a plea. Layla, I know I've wronged you all these years. Farina is carrying my child. She's still young and can't be without me. Wait for me a few more years, okay? After her child is born and grows up, I'll cut ties with her completely and I'll be there for you properly. Be there for me properly? I couldn't help but find it laughable. Cold curve tugging at the corner of my lips. 7 years, haven't I with it laughing up betrothal la supine I endure. Does he think a single I've wronged he and laughing only? Hasn't it wait a few more years? Wait until he's done with Farina. Wait till he's watched the children grow up. But I no longer have that kind of time to wait, nor the patience to keep waiting. I won't wait, I said calmly, my voice steady and resolute. Otto, let's get a divorce. Otto Good's face darkened immediately, stared at me, a mix of anger and confusion his eyes. Layla, he made enough of a scene. I'm not making a scene. I looked at him, speaking each word deliberately. I'm serious. Divorce. Impossible. He stood up abruptly. He's tone for I'm not divorcee. Do you think that just because you don't want a divorce I'll hop? I also rose slowly, meeting his gaze with a trace of cold sarcasm in my eyes. Otto, your refusal to divorce me isn't because you can't bear to let me go, nor because of that contract. His expression shifted slightly, a flicker of panic in his eyes. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm not talking nonsense. I shook my head, my voice calm but cutting. You refused to divorce me because your father chose me to be his daughter-in-law. Your father said that only with me as your wife could you smoothly inherit the good group. If we divorce, you'll lose the wife to inherit the good group, and all your years of effort will be wasted. My words were like a sharp blade, ruthlessly cutting through his facade. His face drained of color. The fear in his eyes grew more obvious, his lips quivering, yet he couldn't say a single word. I looked at him in his disheveled state, feeling no trace of pity, only a chilling coldness. This is who he is, selfish, self-centered, and utterly hypocritical. He never once loathed me, nor did he ever truly care about me. The only things he cares about are himself and the inheritance of the good crick. Out stop deceiving yourself and look at him calmly. Divorce is the best thing for both of us. You can continue staying with Farina and with your child, and I can leave this place and start a new life. He said nothing, just bowed his head, his shoulders trembling slightly, lost in thought. I didn't press him any further, turned and walked into the bedroom, closing the door behind me, shutting out all his confusion. And in the days that followed, Otto Good didn't mention divorce again, and nor did he bring Farina Darwin Hall. He came home late every night, wearing a faint trace of perfume that unmistakably was Farina's scent. I neither asked nor intervened, as silently pat where longing, appearing to leave his perfume, that on me captive for 7 years. That afternoon, I was sitting in the living room watching TV when I happened to switch to the entertainment channel. A live broadcast of a charity banquet was playing on the screen. Otto Good and Farina Darwin appeared prominently on the screen. Otto was dressed in a black suit, standing tall with a gentle smile on his face as he carefully supported Farina. Farina wore a white gown, her lower abdomen slightly rounded, a radiant smile of happiness on her face as she nestled in Otto's embrace. So perfectly matched, so utterly happy. Not either angry nor sad, I simply watched a screen saw.